Hey YouTube, this is BLA914CK. I want to tell you about something I like to call dirt cheap decks. These are decks that you build on the fly with that little money you have in your pocket, and it turns out sometimes you actually may really like them. And this is one of those decks that I'm going to tell you about. This is basically essentially Lightray Gearfried Turbo. The goal is to get one or two of these on the field to lock down your opponent's spells and traps while controlling the field with big monsters, essentially Gearfried. And it's a really good, well, I wouldn't say really good, it's a competitive fun deck, if that works. I don't know how to phrase it, but I enjoy it. That's the reason why I run this deck. I can't run it fully until December when I get the Constellar Exceeds, but yeah, I guess I'll break down what this deck is about. Okay, first, for starters, you got 3 Lightray Gearfrieds, massive 2800 monster. You can drop it from your hand when you got 5 lights with different names in the graveyard. You remove a warrior from the graveyard, negate a spell or trap your opponent controls, and destroy it. As long as you only control warriors. That's why this deck is a warrior-centric light deck that I enjoy. Next we have. Okay, I've been accused of calling this being a Lightsworn deck because of this, but I really saw no other way. You have your Lightsworn engine. Basically, this is what gets cards into the graveyard. You can get it through random destruction, and you can get it through regular attacks, but this is the fastest way to do it right now. And no, this is not a Lightsworn deck. So yeah, you got your 2 James for big warrior run over stuff, Aaron for face down monster control, Lilas for spell and trap control, Rykos for just random card destruction, and they all mill and send stuff to the graveyard. Sometimes you'll have the same problem. Sometimes you'll mill what you need. Sometimes you'll mill stuff you didn't want to mill, but you just suck it up and you just move on. All right, next we have one Lightray Duelist. He's a nice tech for this deck. It used to be just only be Lightray Gearfried until I started realizing I needed something else. Daedalus drops when you have 4 lights in the graveyard. It's got 2600 attack. If my opponent's using field spells, I can just pop the field spell with Daedalus and 2 of their cards. It's just a very nice tech. Honest, self-explanatory. It's a light deck. Do the math. Okay, this is the other thing that this deck's been called because of this. I've played this deck on DN, and I asked for original decks, and when I dropped the Thrasher and the Alias, people keep saying you're not original, this is Hero Beat, and I'm saying no son, this isn't Hero Beat. And then the jaw drops when you drop Thrasher, Alias, Guardian of Order, which is coming up soon, and go into Miser 7. So yeah, Thrasher, he's 21 if he's the only monster in your hand. You can special summon when you got no monsters. If you only draw into this and then drop him, you're pretty much good for about a turn unless your opponent decides to just go off. Alias has got 1900 attack. If you want to run Gemini Spark, you can just bump up the Alias, run like 1 or 2 Sparks, and make the deck work that way. But I enjoy it like this: 2 Thrashers, 2 Alias. Surprisingly, I don't run Spark because I don't run into this enough, and that's why I run them. Next is one people don't use, and it's awesome. It's Wind Up Knight. He's actually a whole lot better than most people think. He blocks that first attack. He can save himself. He's level 4. If he can block himself and then you normal summon Jane or Alias or Lila, pop that spell or trap, overlay for Utopia, or you can do the big play, Constellar Omega into Miser 7, and just sit on that, you're good. I just like him for that reason, for his ability to just stop that first attack. All right, let's just move on from him. He's just good. You got one Guardian of Order. Guardian of Order, old card from Light of Destruction. He drops himself when you have control two or more light monsters. He's got 2,500 attack, 1,200 defense. He's a great beater, and it's just a surprise when you just have two monsters drop this thing overlay for something huge. Or since this is this deck, you can overlay for Excalibur and you attack for 7,500 if you got a clear field. It's great. Oops, dropped my card. One, Freed the Brave Wanderer. When you drop them Gearfrieds, you drop Freed for spell and trap control. Not spell and trap, monster control. Because you remove 2 lights from the graveyard and pop a monster with higher attack than Freed. Half the time your opponent's going to have a field full of monsters with higher attack than Freed. And he's a good tech for this deck. Alright, for spells, you got 1 Charge of Light Brigade, get that Mill, get that Light Swarm. 1 Rhoda, you can search out everything but Lila and Raikou. 1, 2 Duality, get that search. Used to run Solar Recharge, and I realized it kept getting stuck, so I just replaced it with Duality to get that dig. 2 Lance, these are just a random tech for now. I don't know what to replace them with. I feel like there's something better, even though most people will say that there isn't. But ever since the Common Lance came out in Battle Pack, this became easier to get my hands on. So I just stuck it in here. You got 1 Book of Moon, Foot Monster face down, partially stun your opponent for a turn, call it a day. Book of Moon. Alright, one tech for this deck that works beautifully is this, Warrior Returning Alive. This card is incredibly broken. I realized this when I played some kid. He had killed my Guardian of Order. I picked that Guardian of Order back up, dropped it. I picked up that. He had dropped my Gearfried. I picked up my Gearfried, special summon my Gearfrieds, and just proceeded to wail on him. It was good. It was beautiful. I love this. Last for traps, you got 2 Compulses. Compulse, bounce a monster. Doesn't matter on which side of the field. It's good for control. The other cards in this deck basically are staples. The regular staples like Reborn, Solemn, MST, Heavy. Amount varies depending on what I'm playing or who I'm playing. But yeah, that's pretty much what fills out the deck. Extra deck, rank 4 exceeds, Utopia, Roach essentially. I don't own Roach. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. Pearl, Papillo Operative, which is, hold up. This thing, which is like, it's like sex. It flips defense position monsters and makes them lose 600. I don't know why the hell this wasn't super. I would have paid to make this super. I would have paid to make this ultra. I love this thing. We got My Stroke, defense, flip monsters. Blade Armor Ninja. It's a warrior deck. I can attack twice. Don't go into this as often as you think, because there are better options than this, and you want to get those lights in the graveyard. So you go into things like Utopia. He's just nice. He's light food. And then you can, when he's wasted his materials, you drop Utopia Ray on him and gives you another name. Actually, another thing this deck is missing. There's 3 things missing from this deck. They're in other decks. I don't feel like getting them out. But it's missing a mind control and 2 veilers. Veilers is just to stop that other effect, and mind control is to take that monster for that possible overlay. Because this is an Exceed deck, it rarely synchros, and I don't have any good synchros to just go into, so it's just, I like this deck. And I guess that's it for the profile. This deck really cost me no more than what, maybe $15 max. Came off a random idea off of a YouTube comment. Somebody was talking about Gearfried, how he's like light Shien, and you can use light swords to mill for him. And I was like, all right, let's do this. Built it on DN. Really fell in love with the deck, really. So I actually went out and built it. Enjoy it. Dirt cheap deck. $15. Play this if you want. If you can improve it, go ahead. If you don't want, if you think it's trash, then think it's trash. But I love this deck. I love this deck. I want to make it better. I just don't have any ideas. If you have any ideas, go ahead. If you want to call it trash, call it trash. And I guess that's it. Sorry for the terrible video. This is my first YouTube video. This is the best camera I got. And just thanks for watching if you did. Comment below.